Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Ranking Member. I'm glad we're talking about child care here this morning. I don't view child care as a threat to me as a parent about whether or not we're losing our values. As a parent, I want to know what's going on in my child care facility. I want to know what's going on in my kid's school, and I think that that's incumbent upon me as that parent then to actively engage in that. But I want to have some choices. I want to have some options. And in my state right now, 61% of Alaskans live in what they call a child care desert. They have nothing. So when we're looking for workers from everything from slope workers to teachers to doctors, I'm having workforce issues in other spaces because we don't have access to child care. The community of Valdez, the terminus of the Alaska pipeline, got a great little hospital there. They're trying to get some providers. They got some nurses that are lined up to come, and they find out that the only licensed child care facility in all of Valdez has closed down, and there's no plan for it. The Coast Guard says, if we don't have child care there in Valdez, we're not so sure about the viability of Valdez as a Coast Guard community. Child care is not only a workforce issue, it's a military readiness issue. I had a sit down with the head of our child care coalitions, and I brought in the base commander from Joint Base Elmendorf-Richardson, because he's telling me that the #1 challenge he's got right now when it comes to readiness is the availability of child care. And we talked about, is it what child care providers are being paid? And we found out that in the military, at least on JBER, they've got flexibility to pay their child care providers more, and they still can't get the people that they needed. And I asked a simple question: what more can we do? If it's not the pay, what is it? And I was told, until you allow child care providers to think that this is a career and not just a job where I'm going to go get minimum wage, and then hopefully I'm going to get something better from there. Our reality is child care is an imperative in so many of our communities, our states, and we've got to do more to address it. This weekend, in our state's largest newspaper, article about child care in Alaska, 250 people on the wait list in a facility in Palmer. At the child care facility just up the road from where I used to live there in Anchorage, what families are being charged for one kid, $1,700. You tell me how a family who's a teacher and a firefighter is finding $1,700 for their one kid. So it's not only child care deserts, it's the issue of affordability. I'm told that on average in Alaska, families pay $982 per month for child care, but again, that varies. So I'm looking at this and I'm saying there is a role here. There is a role for us. Last Congress, Senator Tim Scott introduced the Child Care and Development Block Grant Reauthorization. I co-sponsored that because I thought it was a good way to actually help assist child care providers and families in their ability to be able to choose child care without us here in the federal government micromanaging things. Senator Murray has a different approach to it, but I'm looking at this and suggesting that we have a role here. We have a role. And I perhaps might not have ever envisioned that at the federal level it was incumbent upon us to weigh in here when it comes to child care and access to child care. But it is impacting our military security. It is impacting our economic security when you cannot get people to be able to return to work because there is no child care for them. So if anybody wants to comment on Senator Scott's reauthorization of the Child Care Development Block Grant, I'm happy to hear that because I've taken my full 5 minutes. Ms. Hogan, you're picked on.
There's so much, it's wonderful to hear you talk about the role, and I just want to appreciate the opportunities to have bipartisan agreement to build on what we've already done to ensure that there is childcare and early learning access. And I especially want to lift up what you talked about in terms of this really not being a minimum wage job, that compensation needs to be commensurate with their incredible skills and value that goes into this. This is a difficult job. And the senator from Oklahoma, I know, isn't here, but this question of regulations, when we make it harder for an early childhood educator to do their job, when we reduce ratios and we reduce group sizes, one of the things that we need to talk about when we do that is we make it harder to recruit and retain early childhood educators. And so we actually reduce the supply when what we're trying to do is increase it. And that comes back to this question of the ways in which compensation really matters most. If we don't fix that, we're going to keep struggling with this challenge.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.